Hello and welcome to Calls. This is the 2022 Mexico Open Initial Research Show. With the week off, I got caught up on a lot of things that I wanted to get to. It was a great week off for me, to be honest. Kind of unplugged, just enjoyed life for a little bit, got away from the computer. How was your Zurich? Did you make any outright wagers? Did you play in any DFS? I honestly didn't really watch too much of it. I know that Cantley and Shoffley won, and Billy Horschel and Sam Burns made a run at them today. But I really didn't tune in. Like I said, I got away from the computer, got away from things. We have a lot to get into. This is a brand new event on the PGA Tour, so we've got a new course to break down on top of look at the field for the week. And there are a few announcements, so let's get through those so we can start digging in. The schedule for this week will be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I am leaving for a golf trip / vacation Wednesday morning. So tonight, obviously, the initial research show. Tomorrow night, Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, the data dive as usual. The DFS Tactics show, which is normally Wednesday night at 9 p.m., is going to move to Tuesday. So it'll be a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday schedule. So I will cover as much as I can DFS-wise that Tuesday evening, knowing that it is going to be a day early, so the ownerships and such will change pretty heavily, I'm sure. But it is what it is. I'll do the best that I can. And I mentioned it last week that with the time off, I had started to plan some new content and such. This coming Sunday, the day I get back from the golf trip, I'm going to start DFS baseball content on DraftKings. That will probably be Friday, Saturday, Sundays. The time is still open, so if you are a baseball fan or are wanting to get into DFS baseball, leave a comment in the YouTube video or reach out to me on social media. What time is works for you that you want to catch this content. I've been a baseball player all my life, on top of being a math nerd, a data analyst and such, so it's kind of right up my alley. I've been having fun doing that this week. So reach out to me on some of the content you might want to see in regards to DFS baseball as well. So I think those are the two big announcements, and if I think of anything, I'll try to include it at the end. But let's get into the Mexico Open. So all stats provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is simply the best resource out there. Go check them out. It is well worth your investment. It's going to make you a much better gambler, a much smarter DFS player. There are links to my social media in the description of both the YouTube and Twitch videos. These are places where I will share my research or any interesting thoughts that I have throughout the week, as well as my betting cards for the upcoming tournaments. I was unable to get Rumble to get going this evening. I need to do a little bit more prep for Rumble, but I will have 3 streaming services hopefully, as long as my software and setup can handle it. So I will be on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Rumble. And then, as I mentioned, social media where I place my betting cards, any interesting research that I find throughout the week, I tend to post to social media as well. And then finally, we are live. Chat is open. I mentioned I want to hear about your Zurich. Did you play DFS? Did you do well? Did you have any outright wagers? What are you looking for at the Mexico Open? How much do you know about the course? Of the field this week? Do you know of any narratives, or who are some guys you're looking forward to? So jump in chat, join me. It'll be a good show. It'll be fun to interact with you all and get back to the usual schedule from having a week off. So with all of that out of the way, let's do our initial research for the 2022 Mexico Open. And we transition over here first to Pro Visualizer. And the reason being, I just checked the GCSAA. We do not have the tournament fact sheet, and I don't know if we're going to get one, but I just checked before the show, don't have it. So this is Pro Visualizer. It looks like Google Maps or whatever they use is kind of taking its time to load. So I'll refresh the page for you all. But with this being a brand new course, not a lot is known, so I wanted to go ahead and bring it up and see what we can gather. I went ahead and made the Excel charts to simulate the course breakdown in Fantasy National. We'll get to Fantasy National here a bit later, but something else that I want to do, and let me make sure I have chat up and going, I am going to have this page off to the side. I'm hoping you all can see that. This is straight from the Mexico Open tournament site. So you can see here they have some descriptions of the holes. I'm going to have it off to the side because I want you all to see the holes as I go through hole by hole. So just know that when I am spouting off this information, it is straight from the Mexico Open site. So there are quite a few changes in regards to the Mexico Open setup as a tournament course and what it is listed at here at Pro Visualizer. You'll see here Pro Visualizer lists it at a par 73. This tournament this week is at a par 71. This says 7,315 yards. Tournament-wise, it is set at 7,456 yards. So again, I want to reiterate that what I am reading off of is straight from the Mexico Open tournament site. I just have Pro Visualizer up so we can kind of look at the holes together to get a gauge of what the descriptions are talking about. So we'll go ahead and get into the first hole here. But as this loads, I'm going to do a little bit of overview, at least based on the website. It is a Greg Norman design. It was originally, like as we said, a par 73. Now it plays to a par 71 at just under 7,500 yards. It's about 7,456 yards. The grass of the greens and fairways, as far as I know, rough, all the grass type is paspalum, which is to be expected. It's very common in Caribbean courses. It is what the grass type is for the Zozo over in Japan. A lot of international events have paspalum greens, at least, and the Caribbean has paspalum pretty much everywhere. Let's see. It says 55 bunkers in play. I think that is going to be seemingly small. There are quite a bit of desert areas when in descriptions of these in description of these holes, excuse me. So my guess is that while the desert isn't technically a bunker, the desert does come into play quite a bit. But I think players are allowed to ground their club in the desert, or what's defined as a desert and whatnot. And then there are 6 lakes on the golf course. It does not say how many holes have water in play, but we'll go through hole by hole here. My first look into it is that there is water in play on a lot of the holes. It's certainly a majority, but we'll go through it. Let's see, what else here of any note? It says the golf course changed from a 73 to a 71. Hole 4 went from a par 5 to a par 4, so we'll make sure we highlight that. And hole 16 went from a par 5 to a par 4. Let's see. 9 holes were lengthened. The course was lengthened totally by a total of 170 yards. So let's go ahead and get into the full-on course description here. And again, if you're in chat, jump in. Let me know what you're wanting to see. Are you wanting to see the Pro Visualizer? Do you want to see the Pro Visualizer and the whole description side by side? They would be kind of scrunched a little bit. So just let me know. It's what we're here for, to do the research that that you all want to do. So, hole number 1, par 4, 415 yards. And again, just to reiterate for the third time, this is Pro Visualizer is going to say a yardage and a par for a couple holes. The pure stats for the tournament are off here to the left, what I'm reading from the Mexico Open tournament site. So while I do have Pro Visualizer on the screen for you all, that is just to get a feel for the hole, whereas the actual tournament conditions are here off to the left of what I'm reading from. So hole number 1, 415 yards, par 4, dogleg right. The more you cut off of the lake, the more scoreable club in your hand. It looks to be a pretty easy opening hole, and the key takeaway here is it says the green is practically flat, so birdie can be easily found. So it seems like this is a pretty easy opening hole, fairly short, 415 yards. Hole 2, one of the few holes that I don't see water in play. Par 4, 498 yards, so it's quite a bit longer than what it says here on Pro Visualizer. So 498 yard par 4, renewed tee box and a waste area along the left. So I imagine this is maybe not OB, but certainly a penalty. My guess would be unplayable and such in here. Let's see, in the mornings when the wind's not blowing, the hole calls for a long and precise drive. The second shot will be around 200 yards. The green has some undulations and is a hard and fast surface to complement the difficulty of the hole. When the wind picks up around noon, the challenge to keep the the challenge is to tie the ball on the green with the wind in your favor. It will be difficult to leave the ball near the flag in any of its positions. So that seems like a very small, undulating, difficult green, and a long par 4 at that. So it seems like it's a pretty long, difficult par 4. So there's hole number 2, par 4, 498 yards with an approach shot estimated at about 200 yards. Excuse me, hole 3, a short-ish par 4, 445 yards, so just a little bit longer than Pro Visualizer has. Another set of tees protected by the desert on the right, so my guess is they've actually moved these tees over here to bring what looks to be some desert into play up here. And a lake on the left. Some traps in the middle. What complicates this hole is the crosswind that you usually find on your approach. The second shot will have to be applied to control the distance due to the crosswind and the bounce on the green. Apparently it's a 2-tiered green. Again, that's 2 of the 3 holes with water in play. That's two of the 3 holes that have mentioned wind, especially crosswinds. So it looks to be, at least in the first 3 holes, especially since none of them are par 3s, looks like fairways are going to be an absolute premium with lake, in play on 1 and 3. It looks like some putting metrics on Paspalum, whatever we can gather. It mentions that the surfaces are hard and fast, which seems like it would be challenging to do because most Caribbean-style courses keep the greens slow because of the estimated wind or the expected wind. So if these are indeed fast and windy, it's going to be a very, very difficult course. But that's my first inclination or first thoughts reading through the first 3 holes here. So another mid-length par 4, 445 yards. Hole 4, this is one of the holes that was changed. This went from a par 5 to a par 4 for the tournament. Notice Pro Visualizer has it a par 5, 510. In the tournament, it's a par 4, 520 yards. So they've actually lengthened this to 10 yards and made it a par 4. So long par 4, which usually has a crosswind. So that's 3 times in the first 4 holes that they've mentioned a crosswind. Both from the tee and on shots to the green. Players will find traps both on the fairway and at the entrance to the green. So fairway and the green here. Flag position at the entrance to the green will be the most complicated due to its narrowness. From the middle to the back, it becomes a wider green. Okay, so I'm thinking probably like a kind of a T shape, for lack of better description. With 520 yards at sea level and a crosswind, it is a hole where par is a good result. So my guess is this is going to be one of the toughest holes, if not the toughest hole of the week. Long par 4, crosswind. It seems like it's a shallow green. Yeah, just a premium on long irons and fairways so far. Hole number 5, par 3, 208 yards. So basically right at what Pro Visualizer is saying. It looks like some more water in play. First par 3, protected by traps. So it simulates an island style green. I'm not quite seeing it, at least. I guess this is Google Earth. Whatever Pro Visualizer uses. So I'm not seeing that per Pro Visualizer. Spin control is very important to attack the flag and get the long-awaited birdie. Long par 3 is what I got for you. Hole 6, an actual true par 5, 603 yards. So, hole 6, the tee shot will have to avoid the lake and the bunkers that run down the left side of the fairway. So again, some more water in play. So that's at least, 4 of the 6 holes so far that have water in play. Let's see, and 1 bunker on the right. For those who seek to reach in 2, they will have to avoid the traps that guard the green. The smart play will be to lay up from 100 yards away where they can attack the flag and finish, or attack the flag with a wedge and finish their birdie off. So, again, without knowing a whole lot of wind and grass, past palm, I'm not exactly sure how that relates in terms of the ball traveling, rolling out or sticking or anything like that. My guess is the longest of the long hitters will be able to try to reach this green in 2. Again, Pro Visualizer assuming a 295 yard drive. That's probably a little bit under average for the PGA Tour. So you're looking at about a 310? Yeah, probably a 280 yard approach shot if they're going for the green in 2. I doubt most players will go for it, but there might be a few. So if this is indeed a true 3-shot hole, this is one of the holes where wedge play will be very important. But again, it looks like more premium on finding the fairway since you have water in play. Looks like very close to the fairway in play. So again, I'm seeing a lot of emphasis on fairway, long iron approaches if this hole is going to be attacked in 2. Otherwise, this hole might mandate some wedge play. Hole 7. This is a drivable par 4. Risk reward where players will be able to reach the green without problems, but they have to take care of the water on the left side and the sand traps to the right. So again, a little bit more water in play if you get wayward left. Let's see. Undoubtedly one of the holes where we can see fireworks. It's just your pure risk reward. It's actually shorter. Tournament site lists it shorter than this. Tournament site lists it at 297 yards. So some guys might even hit three woods per se. So Risk reward par 4. That's basically what it is. Hole 8. Long par 4. More water in play here. So, hole 8, par 4, 496. One of the flagship holes in the course due to its difficulty. Par 4 must be approached with precision and distance control from the tee. Lake runs along the right side of the fairway until reaching the green. The wind and the design of the green with 3 surface levels makes the flag positions playable and complete the degree of difficulty on an imposing hole. So this sounds like it's a 3-tiered green, which it would seem to me like it would be kind of longer and narrower. Again, precise iron play to find the proper level, to stay away from the water. Again, there doesn't seem to be a lot of bunkers, but where they are, looks like they try to deter the most aggressive plays. So there you go. I mean, that's what I've got for hole 8 and in the course in general so far about the bunker layouts. Water, seemingly its main defense, and perhaps some crosswinds that they've mentioned quite a few times. All right, then hole 9, the par 3, 174 yards to finish out the front 9. So, elevated with an elevated transverse island type green with a lake in front and undulations on the surface of the green, it will allow players to get the best out of their control shots with a medium iron, as well as the wind that, due to the height of the shot, will affect the flights of the ball from the tee. So it seems like it's an elevated tee. Of course, you have to carry the water. Looks like 2 sand traps protecting left. So, all right. Again, just more water in play. That's the feeling that I got. My first look through of the course was quite a bit of water. There's the front 9. Again, jump in chat, or if you're not able to catch live, in the comments, what are you seeing at least so far from Vedanta this week at the Mexico Open? Is there a style of player that you think, at least for the first 9 holes, this favors? Do you think the long hitters are going to be able to take advantage of this course, or do you think this is going to be a more wedge type place, and those style of players will rise to the top? Let me know. But that's the front 9. Let's move to the back 9. Hole 10. Short-ish par 4. Again, Pearl Visualizer says 387. The tournament site has lengthened this to 475. So pretty long par 4. I said shortish based on this. When you go to the tournament site, par 4, 475 yards. Requires a very precise tee shot to a very narrow fairway protected by a lake on the right and OB on the left. So again, it looks like a premium on fairways. The second shot is to a narrow green with some elevation and is protected by sand traps on the left. Quite a challenge to get 2 putts when the green speed is greater than 11 on the stem. So speaking earlier to these Caribbean style courses, the Puerto Rico Open, the Corrales Punta Cana, they are notoriously some of the slowest greens on tour because those places get a lot of wind. And if you have fast greens and wind, it can just be havoc to almost unfair. So I would be very curious, or at least my inclination is to think that these are going to be slow greens, just due to the fact that they're talking about all this crosswind and such. So far, it seems like it's going to be a pretty difficult test of golf. But anyway, hole 10, par 4, 475 yards. So again, another hole with long iron approaches, seemingly. Hole 11, par 3, 195 yards. Front of the green is protected by a large lake. Players who have to go through this hole early will have a certain advantage. From noon on, the crosswind blows, making it a greater challenge. All right, so club selection. Another long-ish par 3 set at 195, but close to 200, so we'll be looking at a couple of those lengths of par 3s, I'm sure. One looks like one little sand trap here to the left of the green, but otherwise it looks like, or it sounds like, I should say, that the wind is the biggest factor on this hole. Par 5 12th, 637 yards. A long hole. Long par 5 makes it difficult to reach the green in 2. Imposing, and I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, parada tree. Protecting the second shot makes players focus on setting the shot to achieve a short third that allows them to attempt a birdie. So if you're hitting your drive 300, you still have 337 yards. And I guess the biggest faders of the golf ball can maybe get there in 2, but it looks like this might be a true 3-shot par 5. Okay. Again, without knowing precisely what paspalum surfaces, paspalum fairways do in terms of run out, the dryness of the course and whatnot, this seems like it's a true 3-shotter. Definitely going to be a true 3-shot if you find the bunker. And then this, again, parada tree protects the green where you have to play out to the left and give yourself your best wedge. So possibly 2 of the 3 par 5s so far, because there are 4 par 5s. Even though this is a par 71, there are 5 par 3s and 4 par 5s. So just an extra par 3 on the course. But again, coming back to hole 12, it looks like this is a true 3-shotter, as well as the par 5 6th might indeed be a true 3-shotter as well. So that's hole 12. One of the few that doesn't have water so far. I think we've only seen 2 or 3 holes that doesn't have water in play. This will be the 3rd or the 4th. So short-ish par 3. Hole 13, par 3, 170 yards. Tee off from an elevated tee. Green is protected by 2 sand traps on the left. 13 will be a hole that players will want to take advantage of. So there's probably a pretty easy par 3 here. I guess the only defense is these bunkers and the elevated tee in combination with the wind. But a short par 3, 170 yards from an elevated tee, no water in play, probably a birdie chance for most players, assuming a good approach. Hole 14, this I think it was 16 that was changed. So hole 14, par 5, 585 yards. It says 577, close enough. Front tee shot towards a very wide fairway. So this is one of the few fairways that seem to be wide or easier to hit. Allows long hitting players to take advantage and get to the green in 2 in the morning. In the afternoon, the headwind makes it difficult, although it will continue to provide that opportunity given hitting the fairway. So again, it looks like this course will really toughen up in the afternoons, or at least that's what the tournament site is suggesting. The green is protected by a lake and a large desert area on the right. So as I was mentioning, seemingly not a lot of bunkers, but this whole desert area here, short right of the green. Of course, water looks like it comes very close to the green here. Let's see, another hole where the players will have to take advantage for good scoring. Okay, so perhaps an attackable par 5 in the morning, especially. Certainly, the length isn't going to be preclusive to players being able to reach the green. It's whether they want to take on the water here. So, seemingly, at least two, what I would say 3-shot par 5s, maybe even a third, depending on how aggressive they want to be on this par 5 with the wind. Hole 15 is a par 4, 459 yards. Penalty lake along the entire left side of the fairway. The sand trap in the middle that is reachable with the drive. The green is flat with no undulations. Sand traps protecting the right. So there's been a couple of greens that they have mentioned that are flat, the first and now the 15th. And then they've had a few undulating greens. I believe the second was a 2-tiered green. They've had a 3-tiered green mentioned somewhere late on the front 9. So different style of green complexes here at Vedanta, at least by description. Pretty nondescript hole other than the lake on the left, and apparently you have to avoid, well, obviously you have to avoid the bunker in the middle of the fairway. I don't know how penalizing it is though. Not having played the course, I don't know how deep this bunker is. If a player finds this bunker, are they still able to try to go at the green? That's something I just don't know. But so far I'm seeing just a premium on fairways. And maybe some long irons is what I'm seeing so far. Hole 16, this is the other hole that was converted from a par 5 to a par 4. So hole 16, par 4, 505 yards. So I imagine the tee's more probably up in here somewhere. Tee shot requires great precision due to the sand traps on the left and the waist area on the right. This looks like it is water actually, so this all here could be waist area as well. Second shot will be around 200 yards due to the breeze from the wind that hits head on, especially if they play in the afternoon. Green is protected by sand traps in the center and left. All right, so again, a converted par 5, long par 4, 505 yards tournament wise. Long approach shot. Got to avoid the waist area here. So again, more long iron, more fairway focus. Hole 17, long par 3, 226 yards. Obviously water in front here. Hole requires more precision from the tee. Long iron and headwind. A lake all the way down the left side and a wide sand trap on the right. A narrow green with gentle slopes. With the fast speed that the event demands, it will be quite a challenge for the players to positively close their round. So this seems like it would be a difficult par 3. Again, they're mentioning the fast speed that the tournament demands. I just don't know how fast they're going to allow it to be if the wind's picking up. So, but it's still a very challenging long par 3 here. And then the 18th, a seemingly very scoreable closing hole here. The par 5 18th at 548 yards. Parota tree, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Tree protects the tee shot. In addition to a narrow fairway covered with sand traps on the left and OB on the right, makes this a challenge from the tee. However, it gives you the chance to get up in or get to the green in 2, and ending your round with an eagle. If you play conservatively, the third shot to the green requires maximum precision to place the third shot close to the hole. That's obvious. So it sounds like this, I mean, due to the short length, at least by PGA Tour standards, of this par 5, it looks like this is an eagle opportunity. You just have to avoid OB right. Again, more long irons. but this seems like it would be reachable into for professionals. So certainly a chance to an attackable par 5 is what I would say. So it looks like 2, maybe 3 true 3-shot par 5s, maybe 1 or 2 attackable ones. But that is a look at the Pro Visualizer course. Look at the Vedanta. Again, I'm hoping it wasn't too confusing. I was trying to be pretty adamant at the outset of this that I am reading from the Mexico Open tournament site, but allowing you all to get a look at Pro Visualizer just to kind of get a concept of how the holes look. It looks like the fairways are open. The protections being, either lake or a bunker or, native area, desert. But it looks like there's not a lot of tree-lined fairways. But it seems like there's still a precision or a focus on fairways. Long irons. So, all right, I'm going to close this out. Actually, I'm going to close both of them out. There is a look at Fantasy National. But before I go to Fantasy National, I'm going to change views here. So give me one moment. I switch over to Microsoft Excel. So this is to simulate the course breakdown tab in Fantasy National because this is a brand new tournament. No scoring has been done, so there's not a lot we can gather on the course breakdown tab in Fantasy National. I did my best to kind of recreate 2 main charts on that page. So this is the course composition, or the whole yardages. Again, this is per Pro Visualizer and with this Mexico Open tournament site. So you've got 2 par 3s that measure from 150 to 175. You've got 1 par 3 in each of the 175 to 200, 200 to 225, and 225 plus. So it does not seem like there is going to be a plurality of par 3 or a length of par 3 to maybe focus on. Now this does measure to 195, so you could probably argue that there could be 2 in here, but the one that's in this range I believe is 208. Just quick scan here, 195, 174, 208. Yeah, so if they move tees and pin placements, you can see that 208 come into here too. So doesn't look like there is a dominant range of par 3s that we're going to want to focus on. In the par 4s, you do have the one drivable par 4 at 297 yards. So you got 1 there. You got 2 short-ish par 4s at 400 to 450. You have, I believe it's 5, because I know this is actually 2. This is 520 and 505. So I do need to make that adjustment here slightly. I apologize. So that goes to 2. I believe that's at 3. So with that, let's see. We've got 445. Yep. Yeah. So all right. So you've got the drivable par 4. You've got 2 short-ish par 4s. You've got 3 from 450 to 500, and 2 of those are pushing the 500. You've got a 496, and you have a 459, 475, so right in the middle. So you've got the 496, which is pushing this up here. Then you have the 520 and the 505 yard par 4s. So while that third one in here falls into this range, I'd imagine it could fall into this one fairly easily at 496. So long par 4s, again, probably not a dominant length, but we're definitely going to be looking at long approach shots with 5 of the par 4s demanding seemingly close to a 200-yard approach shot. So yeah, that's a look at the par 4s, and then the par 5s. You've got a short par 5, the finishing hole, the 18th. You got a medium length, and then 2 very long ones at 613 and 637 yards. So I believe those 2 will actually be true 3-shot par 5s. This one could be, depending on at least what the tournament site is saying, wind direction, time of day, and whatnot. So again, probably not a focus on the length of par 5s. This one is at 585, so it is kind of pushing this 600 to 650. Maybe there could be 3 in a day here in this range. The most comfortable I would feel if I had to choose, I don't think I'm going to do any specific ranges or lengths of par 3s. I could see an argument for the 500 plus par 4s, since one of these is at 496, and I can see an argument for par 5s 600 to 650, with one of the par 5s being at 585. But I don't see something that is screaming, focus on this range. So that's my take on the course composition chart. And again, this is proximity only based solely on the Pro Visualizer. I can't do anything specific, and I've never played here, don't know anything about it. But you had 3 estimated approach shots from 75 to 100. This included the drivable par 4 for those players that aren't going to try to drive the green. Think of it as I believe it's the 16th at the match play, 15th or 16th, where players just kind of drove it right into the grandstands, used it as a backstop with the water on the left. I can see that hole playing, or this hole playing, very similar to that one. They might not be able to just use a backstop like they do at the match play, but it seems very similar to that. So for guys that don't go for the green, they're going to have a short wedge in their hand. And then the 2 others are on the long par 5s, the 613 and the 637. Those 2 actually might legitimately be short wedge style approaches. Because most par 5s are attackable for 95% of the PGA Tour. Those 2 might not be. I don't think the 637 will be reachable for a lot of the players. So I'm confident there's going to be at least 2 in the 75 to 100 range. Now the rest of these, again, this is just based on Pro Visualizer. 2 from the 100 to 125, 1 each in the 125 to 150, 150 to 175. But I kept going, harping on it in the course overview as we went through Pro Visualizer. This looks like a premium on long irons, on fairways. So I'd be curious to hear what you all think. If you're in chat, jump in. If you're not able to catch the show live, in the comments, what are you thinking now that you have seen all 18 holes? You have seen the course composition here, the estimated proximities of approach shots. What's your thinking this week for the Mexico Open? Would be curious to hear your all's take. But I'm going to switch back over to, let's see, transition, don't mind me as I'm talking to myself. I'm going to transition back over here to Fantasy National. And now that we have just an idea of some of the course metrics, I apologize, I keep looking over to make sure chat's still up. So I've went ahead and preset this for all rounds since January 1st, 2022. So we're looking at calendar year statistics only. And you see here that Brian Stewart, Tagala, Bill Haas, Knox, Malnati, they all have more than 36 rounds. I think 36 is going to be plenty. And seeing that the highest is at 43, I don't think cutting 7 rounds off of a player's sample size is going to make too much of a difference. So, with that said, your top performers in the field this week at the Mexico Open since the start of the calendar year: Jon Rahm, Chris Kirk, Daniel Berger, Gary Woodland, Russell Knox, Vaughn Taylor, Pat Perez, Brendan Todd, Matt Jones, and Ryan Armour. I skipped Christian Bezuidenhout. Him and Charlie Hoffman. So Bezuidenhout and Hoffman have already, I don't want to say withdrawn, but they have taken their name out of the field. I have a note on that. Give me 1 second as I reach behind me here. So Bezuidenhout and Hoffman are out. Ben Crane and Fabian Gomez are replacing them in the field. So that is why I skipped over Bezuidenhout. So Brendan Todd is now 8th in terms of total performance since the calendar year. Matt Jones 9th, Ryan Armour 10th. Let's see. Let's take a look at long courses. We know this is a long course. It's going to play long. So long courses, 15 rounds. Okay, that'll be enough just to get an idea or feel for who's been playing well. So on long courses since the start of the calendar year, your top performers are Jon Rahm, Chad Ramey, Matt Jones, Chris Kirk, Nate Lashley, Gary Woodland, Vaughn Taylor, Charles Howell III, Tommy Gainey, and Mark Hinsby. So a little bit of overlap here. Gary Woodland, no surprise, loves long courses. Chris Kirk, Matt Jones overlaps. Jon Rahm makes a whole lot of sense for obvious reasons. Chad Ramey, your winner at the Corrales. A long course, a very good comp course, to be fair. We're going to take a look at a lot of that. Played very well in Puerto Rico. Played very well at the Corrales. So 2 of the best comparison courses that I can think of for the Vedanta this week. Chad Ramey has played extremely well at. The other course that comes to mind is the Mayakoba, El Camaleon, on the other side of Mexico. El Camaleon is right outside Cancun, so the Gulf coast of Mexico. This is on the Pacific Ocean or west coast of Mexico, the Vedanta. There's an airport right next to it. I believe it's right outside Puerto Vallarta. I believe is where it is at. So there is a look at the top performers on long courses. Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of stats for Paspalum. So I'm going to take off the January 1st filter. I'm going to go back to the last calendar year, or the last 12 months. And let's just look at Paspalum. And I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of data. No, not a lot at all. So, with 2 tournaments being the max, and this is the Puerto Rico of this year and the Corrales, let's do the last 2 years just to get a feel for who has been playing these style of courses well. Generally, the Caribbean. I do believe that one of the courses at the RSM has Paspalum. I don't know if it's Paspalum greens, but I think it has some Paspalum surface somewhere along the course. I believe it's the RSM, Seaside, so Plantation? Because the Seaside course is the main course. I believe the Plantation course at the RSM has some Paspalum in it. Let's look. Let's see what these 20 rounds are. So the Corrales, the Puerto Rico, OHL, which is now the Mayakoba. So the exact 3 tournaments that I mentioned being good comparison courses. So due to the lack of data, I'm having to go back the last 2 years. But in the past 2 years, your top performers on Paspalum green surfaces. Those players are Adam Long, Chad Ramey, Brandon Wu, Aaron Wise, Nate Lashley, Alex Smalley, Emiliano Grillo, Tony Finau, Carlos Ortiz, and Brendan Todd. Now, while it is useful, or at least it's a non-zero factor, do be aware that this is some pretty volatile data. For example, Aaron Wise has only played 1 tournament. It was the Mayakoba in 2020 when it was called the OHL. If he comes out and plays poorly this week, his numbers are going to drastically change. That's what happens when you have a very small amount of data. It is very volatile. So, Aaron Wise being third is a whole lot different than Brandon Wu being third. Brandon Wu has triple the amount of data. So his data, at least compared, or at least with the filter of Paspalum, is a lot more stable than somebody like Aaron Wise. So just be aware of that as you are researching through the week. If you are a member at Fantasy National or have other materials at your disposal, just be aware of the sample size there. But there's a look at your top performers on Paspalum green surfaces. I'm going to go ahead and bring this back into January 1st. Remove the Paspalum filter. And let's just take a look at strokes gained approach. It's my preferred statistic. I am a firm believer that strokes gained approach is the most important statistic that's indicative for long-term success. Some players prefer putters. I prefer iron play. I think putting is streaky, and irons typically normalize, and the best players in the world are generally best at that statistic. So in the past 36 rounds, so there were about 7 players that had more than 36 rounds. So of the players that have played since the calendar year 2022, so since January 1st, your top performers in strokes gained approach are John Rahm, Gary Woodland, Daniel Berger, Russell Knox, Adam Svensson, Luke Donald, Tony Finau, Ryan Armour, Austin Smotherman, and Nick Taylor. All right, so again, your premier players, John Rahm, Gary Woodland, Berger, Tony Finau, Chris Kirk, Tringali, hovering right outside the top 10 here. Your other premium ball strikers, Doug Gim, Joseph Bramlett. So no surprise there. I'm just double checking, make sure I don't have any other filters on here. With a Greg Norman design, at least in Fantasy National, we don't have any architect filter to use here. Wind, it's still a bit early to look at wind. The glance that I took at it today in prepping for the show tonight looked like it was pretty calm. It is going to be hot. I've seen forecasted highs as high as 97 during the tournament. I believe that was Saturday. So it's going to be hot, but I don't see much wind in play, at least for now. I am very hesitant to use any green speed filter. My guess it's going to be Velcro or average, just due to the Caribbean nature. Winds generally pick up, therefore they have to slow the greens down. But I'm not comfortable saying that with any confidence, so I'm hesitant to use any speed filter for the greens. Rough length, I would have no idea. Hitting fairways seems like it's going to be a premium, but I don't know how difficult they're going to be to hit. My guess would be average. You didn't have a lot of tree-lined fairways, but they did mention narrow fairways or premium on finding the fairway. You had in the course of the 18th, or in the case of the 18th, that tree protecting the right side of the fairway. So I could see hitting fairways being average in difficulty. Let's see, scoring relative par, no real idea. Some holes look like they're going to be pretty darn easy. Some look like they're going to be really damn tough. So there's a look at your top strokes gained approach players. There's not a whole lot I want to go into, at least in terms of digging deep into the data tonight. We can try and see if there's a course breakdown. Yeah, see, there's no information, so Fantasy National doesn't even populate it. I think the one thing that I do want to go into tonight is the long iron proximities. So let's see. Make sure I don't have any filters on here. I do not. So let's check. I'll do both. I'll do 175, 200, and 200 plus. I'm going to sort on the 200 plus because I think that is going to be the most common range of approach. Joey, hey, thanks for tuning in. How was your week? Did you do much for the Zurich? Yeah, I took the week off, was kind of unplugged a little bit. Hopefully you had a good week. Thanks for jumping in chat. Appreciate it. But your top performers or your top players on approach shots from 200 plus since the start of the calendar year. Those players are Aaron Rye, Austin Smotherman, Seth Reeves, Tony Finau, John Rahm, Taylor Moore, Gary Woodland, Danny Lee, Tyler Duncan, and Michael Gligic. So, some more overlap here. Austin Smotherman has been there on a couple of filters now. Tony Finau, John Rahm, Gary Woodland have been there quite a bit. If you're looking for guys who are great at both 175 to 200 and 200 plus, you've got Austin Smotherman, who is 7th from 175 to 200 yards and 2nd in 200 plus. Let's see, you've got John Rahm, 12th and 5th. Taylor Moore, a little bit of an honorable mention, 20th and 5th. A little lower down here, Nate Lashley. He is 5th from 175 to 200 and 16th in the 200 plus. So not a lot of overlap here in terms of guys that are great from 175 to 200 and 200 plus. Had some successful bets. Had an early win bet on Cantley's team, so that worked out. Hey, well, congratulations. There you go. I made no bones about it. The Zurich Classic is so unique. I didn't even want to fumble with it, mess with it. Any advice that I would have given would have been very surface level. I am comfortable admitting that. So congratulations on the hit. Happy for you. So what was a factor that you used to hit that? Did you go on name value? Did you go with previous team results? Say like Ryder Cup, President's Cup. Be curious to hear what you use there. Let's see. That's a look at the proximity. I don't know how much there is to get into tonight as in terms of digging in further into the data. There's going to be quite a bit that we're going to have to try to uncover tomorrow night in the Data Dive show. I'll make sure to do as much research as I can. I'll try to pose a question on social media. With this being a brand new event, I generally try to find interesting little facts or trends of tournaments. But with this being the inaugural event, I'll probably pose a question. Something around the lines of, what statistic do you think is going to play the most? Is this going to be a long hitter preferred course, or are guys going to have to, or the short game players going to thrive? Would be curious to hear your all's take. So that's going to do it for the initial research for the Mexico Open. I appreciate you all tuning in. Joey, thanks for jumping in chat like you always do. How was your all's Zurich week. Sounds like Joey had a hit on Cantley and Shoffley, so congratulations. Anytime you all have a win, I want to shout you all out in the intro or at the end. Let me know how things go, especially if you have DFS hits as well. And don't forget that the schedule this week will be tomorrow night, the Day to Die show as usual, and then Tuesday night will be the DFS Tactics show, moving from Wednesday to Tuesday just for this week, as I am leaving Wednesday morning for a golf trip / vacation. So make sure you set your reminders for this week only. It'll be a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday schedule for the Mexico Open. And then finally, I will have baseball content starting this coming Sunday when I get back from the said vacation. So if you are a baseball fan or wanting to get into DFS baseball, make sure you give me a follow on social media. I'll be updating some information there, stream times, and whatnot. I'm looking forward to that. Baseball has been my true passion for a long time, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. Thanks again for tuning in. For all of the wagers that you had this past week at the Zurich, for all of the DFS contests you had at the Zurich, for any wagers you're thinking about making at the Mexico Open, and until I see you tomorrow night, may all your bets be profitable.